Very much, everyone, for joining the Cloud9 first ever crowdfunding webinar. And welcome for those of you that are overseas, some on holidays, some in Oz. Thanks very much for joining Marcel, Megan and myself today. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Andrew Fairnington. I am co-founder and chief exec of Cloud9. Just the format for today, I will go through a very quick presentation. It's around 10 minutes, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. The length of today is totally up to you, and it really depends on how many questions we get. If it goes any longer than 30 minutes, then I will answer your questions directly via your emails, if that's okay with you. This presentation that I'm sharing is actually our business plan summary, which is on our CrowdQ pitch. So there's no need for you to write anything down. So slide one is really our logo and our strap line. For those of you that are not aware, Cloud9 means a state of perfect happiness, and our vision has always been to create a venue that can provide this for people of all ages. Our strap line is really our philosophy, and that is aim for the stars. It doesn't matter whether you're dreaming, you're playing, you're working, try your hardest, and then all your dreams can come true. And hopefully when people come and see the first permanent spectacular Cloud9, they will see that in practice. Right. So for those of you that have not been to the part-time pop-up, Cloud9 is a brand new and very exciting leisure experience. If you've seen the TV programs, it will be easier to visualize. If you haven't, don't worry, because there'll be some pictures on the next slide. It is an inflatables-based experience for safety reasons only. And it is effectively a combination of Gladiators, Ninja Warrior, and Total Wipeout, all under the one roof. So this slide are just a few images from our part-time pop-up. I hope they'll show you a couple of things. First of all, is the variety of activities that will be within every Cloud9 venue that will distinguish us from the majority of our peers. Secondly, how much fun it is. And thirdly, how good it is from not just a physical, but also from a mental perspective. It's inclusive, it's for all ages, it gets people off social media, TV, and out with their friends and family doing something that is a lot of fun. So the next slide is a bit of history. We started Cloud9 as a part-time pop-up in November 2017 in order to prove the concept. We started it in a very basic venue. It is effectively a large school sports hall. It's about half the size that the permanent venues will be in terms of the equipment area. There is no ability for us to put any signage or anything up, so you could drive past this during the week and you would have no idea we are there. And we had no catering facility, so we couldn't cook anything on site. Despite those venue limitations, what has been amazing is that even with a part-time pop-up, so we're only open weekends and school holiday weekdays and only 6 hours a day, the customer response from day one was overwhelmingly positive. So much so, and the customer numbers continue to grow every month, but we are now 75% full on average for the 5 months prior to lockdown, which is actually better than the majority of our peers who are in much better venues and in much better locations. And I'm talking really about the trampoline parks when I talk about the peers. So as a result of that, we've decided that we are ready to move Cloud9 onto the next phase, which is the very, very exciting phase. And that is we plan to create the UK's #1 active indoor leisure experience in permanent, very spectacular venues. The most important thing to say on this slide is that we planned that every venue will be much, much more than just the inflatables. Each venue will have a fantastic interior design to appeal to adults. The children will come regardless. We've proven that in a sports school for the last 2.5 years. We will have a fantastic licensed bar and bar area with other activities in that bar area. We will have an amazing cafe with a delicious food and beverage menu, some amazing private or party rooms, whichever you'd like to call them. There will also be a small soft play area by the cafe for those children that are under 1 metre tall, because we do have a height restriction for the inflatables. You need to be at least 1 metre tall. The next slide, it's vague on purpose. This is the bit that we don't really want to give away just yet. We would rather people see it once the first venue is open. Suffice to say, the bar and cafe, the venue will be very spectacular and of a standard above the majority of our peers. I'll give you some analogies. If you've been to these places, you will understand what I mean. If you haven't, just go and have a look on their websites. But it's similar to what Swingers Golf has done for indoor mini golf. And for those people in Australia, these are London-based businesses, UK-based businesses. What Bounce indoor table tennis bars have done, what Flight Club has done for darts, or what Topgolf has done for driving ranges. So please go and have a look at them. The next slide, it's quite a busy slide, so I'm not going to go through it in detail. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this slide or any of the other slides. The one that I would like to discuss is the first advantage, and that is flexibility, because for me, it's the most exciting and the most important. And it's the one that will differentiate us from all of our peers. And what that really means is that we can regularly change our equipment offering. We can do it very quickly, we can do it very easily, and at a significant cost advantage versus our peers. So once a month, we could change 1 or 2 pieces of equipment. And what that means is the customers that come back regularly, there might be something that they have not done for 12 months or never done before. The next slide, titled Expansion Plans. But we're at the beginning. The scale of the opportunity is massive. This puts it into some context. Our business plan, we've only gone to 10 venues. But you'll see from this slide, given that there are around 200 trampoline parks in the UK, 300 bowling venues, 800 cinemas, I hope you can see that 10 is the tip of the iceberg. And that is just the UK. So that ignores the overseas opportunity as well. Right. I'll introduce myself quickly for those of you that don't know me, and then Megan and Marcel would like to say hello. My background is primarily finance. I am a chartered accountant. That's how I started my career. But I've spent the last almost 20 years in investment banking, advising professional UK fund managers on which companies they should invest in. So I have spent most of my life analysing businesses, business plans, and valuations. Before Megan and Marcel speak, I also just wanted to say there are a number of people not on this slide without whom Cloud9 wouldn't be where it is today. First and foremost is our staff. So for any of them that are listening today, we can't thank you enough. And we have a great young team. They are the consumer-facing people, and they are instrumental. They're there to make sure that all the customers are safe, but also that all the customers are having a fantastic time. So thank you guys all much for your fantastic contribution to date. We have a marketing manager who helps me with all the online marketing, and we've appointed a number of people for phase 2. We have an internationally renowned property leisure agent specialist. We've also got a fantastic PR company. You haven't seen anything yet because it hasn't launched. an interior designer who is got a fantastic reputation for bars, pubs and clubs in London. And we've also employed, and you'll certainly, if you could.
My name is Marcel. I've been with Cloud9 since the start of it all. I'm operations director for the company. My background is in the hospitality industry, customer service, and the day-to-day running of a business. It's amazing to be part of Cloud9's transformation. All our hard work throughout this journey was almost like, if you want, like feeding a small caterpillar, and we're now about to see this beautiful butterfly come out of its cocoon.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's very rewarding in itself to know that you are part of something that is going to be big in this country and hopefully beyond, who knows. What makes me happy at Cloud9 is to see the people's reactions when they first come through the door and they see how much fun they're about to have. So children and adults, mainly adults most of the time. Yeah. So yeah, that's me. Over to you, Megan.
Thanks, Marcel.
All right.
I'm Megan Thomas, co-founder also of Cloud9. I've worked in the TV and film industry for the last 20 odd years. So I guess you could say I'm more of the artistic one, and working with the staff. I've been there since the beginning and watched it grow from the vision in our minds of how kids and adults and families can interact and have fun, basically, because I think that was really missing in the market. Families being able to just go out and compete against each other and let their hair down. And being a mum who likes to get involved, that was one of the main things that really appealed to me. So it's been amazing to see it grow. It's been hard work, but it's all been worth it. And to see it move on to the next step, I'm really excited to push the vision forward and take it to the next level, where it will not only be kids and adults, but corporate, adult parties, all kinds of things, also with an amazing bar and cafe where families can relax and watch the kids play or get involved. So I can't wait to see it grow. So I hope you'll join us. Thanks. See you later.
You might as well just wait here until Q&A. Thank you, guys. Megan and Marcel. Right, so back to the presentation. There's not that much more to go. Yeah. So all I wanted to say on this slide is two things. Firstly is a massive thank you to everyone that has invested. It's been 1 week today. So thank you so much for all of your support. We really, really appreciate it. For those of you that haven't and would like to, there is still 1 week left of our private crowdfunding campaign, after which it does go public. The other thing, sorry, you can still invest during the public campaign, but the campaign will close as soon as we are funded. The other thing to say is a very large percentage of the funds we've raised to date has come from a small number of UK professional fund managers whose day-to-day job is investing. And they invest a lot of money on behalf of their clients. And I'm very humbled and very honoured that they have decided to invest their personal money into Cloud9. So thank you very much. The next slide, or in fact, the next 3 slides are the financials. I'm not going to go through this in length. I have done so a lot over the last year. I'm more than happy to ask any of your questions on any of the financials. I would like to discuss 2 things. The first is our base financial assumption for each venue, i.e. the profit each venue will generate, we believe is very conservative. And we've done that on purpose. These 3 slides explain the assumptions behind those forecasts. So hopefully you can see why we believe they're conservative. Despite that, The financial metrics are still exceptional. It's the final point on this slide. You will see a profit after tax margin of 35% and a return on capital of 60% per annum. For those of you that get the UK tax benefit, the EIS benefit, it's an 86% return on that capital. But to put 60% into context, if you put your money in the bank, certainly in the UK, the best cash ISA is 1.5% per annum. Long-term bonds, it's 4-ish%. Long-term equity returns is 7 or 8%. So any business that can generate anywhere near a 60% return on capital is a very, very good business. So I'm just going to skip through the financial slides. There is one financial slide, the fourth one, which I will discuss very briefly, unfortunately, because of the world we live in today. And this is the financials if we had to operate during coronavirus type restrictions. The conclusion is, and this is predicated on two things. One, 2 meter distancing. So we're not that bad anymore, but it's a decent point to start. So I've assumed we've had to halve our capacity. And this also assumes that we will have pandemic clauses in our lease agreements. So our rent will fall in line with our customer restrictions. The conclusion is we still actually make a very decent return on capital, even during these coronavirus conditions, which is very, very reassuring. The next slide is our last slide. So use of funds and investor returns. Use of funds, you will see there, the majority of it is on the venue. And it's because the venues are going to be very, very spectacular. We also have a significant equipment cost advantage versus our peers, which means we can use all of those savings, again, back into the venue to give us an advantage over our peers. In terms of investor returns, I've spent most of my life analysing this, so I'm not going to pretend that anyone can predict the future. What I can say is the returns we make will depend on a number of factors. So I've put one scenario here to try to make it as simple as I can so you can form your own conclusion. It depends on how many venues we have. It depends on how profitable each of those venues are. And then it depends on what someone is prepared to pay for that business. So you can see I've used our conservative financial per venue. I've assumed we get to 9, and I'm assuming someone pays 20 times PE, so profit after tax multiple for that business. The return for investors would be roughly a 30-fold return with EIS, or I think it's around 24 without EIS benefit. So for every £1,000 you invest, you get a £30,000 return. So you can form your own conclusion. If you want to halve that, it's a 15 times return on your money. To put that into some context, Warren Buffett, who was arguably the greatest investor of our generation, he's annualized 20% per annum. So assuming you do that for 10 years, you would make a 5-fold return with that. So I think even if you halve our assumptions, the returns are very good. There is a dividend scenario as well, because I think we all as shareholders will want some money back before either a trade sale or we IPO the business. But because of the cash generation of the business, which is very strong, the dividend payout will also be very attractive. So that's it from me. That's the presentation. I hope it's given you a little bit of an insight into Cloud9, into us, and also why we are so excited about the next stage for Cloud9, because we know we're about to create a very, very special business. So thank you all so much for listening. We would love you to join us as investors on this journey, so you can join in all the fun, but also all of our success. So without further ado, if we can go into Q&A. So if any of you have any questions, and I've just got to find the Q&A button, then by all means, fire away. So thank you very much for your time. Okay. Okay, so we have got some questions. just reading them now to make sure that we can cover as many with one answer as possible. So thank you everyone for your questions. Okay. Right, so I'll answer the first couple, and then I might ask Marcel to answer some, and I'll introduce you to Marcel and tell you what the question is, and then Megan as well. So the first one I'll answer, I think is very important given the world that we live in now, and it's why fundraise given coronavirus? So great question. There are a number of reasons. For those of you that are not in the UK, so we've been in coronavirus now for 4 months, but assuming that we have the fundraising completed by the latest at the end of August, the earliest we could open our first permanent venue will be December this year. So we need to try to understand what the world is going to look like in 5 months' time, not today. So we believe it's going to be in a much better place. Irrespective of that, a lot of people are worried about the second wave. We will have this pandemic clause in our all of our lease agreements that will cover us for that, and we will run a very lean business in terms of fixed costs. So our fixed costs at that point, the other biggest cost is really staff. So the second reason is one positive thing, and I know it's difficult to say, but one positive thing to come out of Brexit, but also this pandemic, is that as a new business, we have already and will in the future be offered some amazing property opportunities. And that is one of the main reasons we've decided to launch a crowdfunding campaign now. We are being offered properties much better than we thought in our business plan. So I can't really elaborate on that at the moment, but suffice to say that is one of the main reasons why we are doing this now. Also, a lot of people are finding it tough, but also by December this year, we do also believe, as in a normal world, a lot of people will be looking for something new, fresh and fun to do. And we've all been cooped up for a very, very long time. And I've mentioned him before, but one of Warren Buffett's tenets is that the best time to invest is when everybody else is scared. And if you look back over the history of the stock market, you'll see that that is actually true. If you look back at the last crisis we had, which was the credit crisis in 2008, the following businesses, there were a number of businesses created during that crisis, but I'll list a couple. Airbnb, WhatsApp, Instagram, just to name a few, were created during that credit crisis. So I know it's difficult. It'd be wonderful to be able to do this not during this environment, but we believe that we actually have an amazing opportunity to start a very, very special business in a tough time. So as the world normalizes, we have a very, very spectacular, well-established business. So thank you very much for that question. Okay, the next question is something similar. I will ask Megan to answer this, and this question is, how do we operate if we had to operate under coronavirus restrictions? So if Megan, can we grab a chair?
Hi. Well, we'd basically just be doing everything within the government guidelines, and as we've already seen, they're constantly changing. So it wouldn't be worth me kind of going through and listing everything that we would be doing now, because by the time that comes, we'd have a whole new set of guidelines. But one thing we've thought of would be doing the safety briefings videos online, people checking with the waiver when they sign it, to say that they've done the waiver and seen the safety briefing, reducing numbers to increase social distancing, cleaning in between equipment, many things that we can do and will be doing, and just the safety of our staff and our customers will be of the utmost importance, really. So it's just whatever the guidelines are at the time.
Lovely, thank you. Right, next question is, Marcel, why don't you answer this one? So this question is, how key will the venue locations be to the success of Cloud9? I've ad-libbed a little bit, but that's basically what the question says. So how important will our venues be to our success?
Okay. Yes, it will help location. Yeah, if we can get something, but it isn't key. So, which we have proven over the past, say, 2.5 years in our part-time pop-up. Our business plan assumes an average industrial warehouse in an average location. Yet at the moment, we are being offered properties in much better locations for similar prices. So location is, it will help, but it isn't key.
Marcel,
Hello.
what about, can you also, there's another question here, I wouldn't mind you answering, only because you're there day to day. So this question is about risk of injury. So,
Okay.
you know, the risk that we have a massive insurance claim, you know, like the trampoline parks, that there is a lot of very, very bad injuries. So someone asked, what is the risk of that at Cloud9?
Well, I can confirm that in our first, say, 2.5 years of operating, which also is our sort of highest risk period, we've had no claims. So our risk is much lower than trampoline parks due to the fact that if you do fall, it's on a bed of air, not a metal frame with some padding. And our insurance cost reflects this as well. So it's substantially less than trampoline parks.
Lovely, thanks, mate. One more here. Megan, if you want to answer this one. So this question is a good question, and it is Cloud9 just for children, is the question. So Megan, fire away.
Well, no, definitely not. Cloud9 is for all ages. You have to be over 1 meter in height, so it's not for babies, because it was actually designed for adults, because the equipment is so large that it can take the strain of adults. It's not just for kids. And we've also seen adults on it. They pay to go on with the kids, and I've seen adults interacting. We've had people literally begging us to do adult parties because they have more fun than some of the kids on there sometimes. It's just a way to let go of tension and just have fun, which we often don't get to do anymore as adults. So we've seen it, and it's been designed bespokely for adults. And no, it's definitely not just for kids.
Thank you, Megan. Right, next question is, right, what's our 5 or 10 year plan, and how will this be funded? So the business plan takes us to 10 venues. So the assumption is that we will open 1 to 2 venues per annum. However, we're not going to rush this. We're not going to do it for the sake of hitting, you know, the annual target. We'll only do it if we find the right venue in the right location. But you know, the businesses that generate this sort of return, we will use the internally generated cash flow to fund the rollout of Cloud9. So it will be primarily funded from cash flow, unless as a shareholder group, we decide for some reason we want to accelerate the rollout. But I suspect after we have a few venues given the cash flow, then there will be a lot of banks that will be prepared to lend. And at the moment, debt is very cheap. So we will also look at debt as a source of funding, but I will never, ever, will never put a lot of debt into this business. I never want to get into trouble like a lot of businesses do by over-gearing. So Yes, look, we'll take it. We've got to 10 as a shareholder group. We'll sit down after that and decide what we would like to do, whether we want to continue expanding in the UK as we have been. Do we want to start franchising? Is there an amazing overseas opportunity we want to pursue? So we will agree that as a shareholder group as and when we get to that point. The next question is, what are your barriers to entry? Which I've been asked a lot over the last 2 years. So the barriers to entry, one is cost. So it is 7 figures. So it's, as I can attest, it's not easy. Secondly is property. Thirdly is staff, which are incredibly important. And fourthly is operational. So we have learned a lot in the last 2.5 years how to run a business where you have to turn your customers over every hour. And that includes parties every hour as well. So the other thing in terms of barrier to entry, and this is one of the reasons we believe the next 2 to 3 years is an amazing opportunity for us to get scale. And that alone will be a big barrier to entry to any of our peers. But the main one for me is whatever the venue is going to be, wherever it's going to be, it is going to be a very, very spectacular venue. So we are going to do everything to a very, very high standard. And in itself, that will be a big barrier to entry for anyone that wants to compete against Cloud9. There will definitely be competition. I don't have a problem with competition. We're at the beginning. We're about to start something very new. There's 150 or 200 trampoline parks in the UK. So do I envisage in 5 years we will have no competition? Absolutely not. It's just that I know that our venues will be amazing. So thank you very much for that question. Do you want to answer this one? So the next question, everyone, is why are we so confident that the public will love Cloud9? So Megan, if you can answer that one, please.
Well, we are very confident because we've had the proof already. People absolutely love it. The kids come in, the looks on their faces, and when they leave, if they've been involved in a party, guarantee we'll probably get at least 4 bookings from the kids that have come to those parties coming again. And that's been in a sports hall with no real facilities, a very average venue, whereas this is us taking it to the next level. So not only are we providing the equipment that we've already have proof that is amazing and people love it, we're now opening it up to the corporate market. We're opening it up to adults and evening entertainment. We're opening it up to people just coming for coffees and being in a really cool, amazing environment in a bar or a cafe. And also, which is really important for me as a mum, we're going to make it a quiet environment in the cafe with that like glassed off. So you're not going to hear the games going on, but you can still very much be a part of it and see what's happening. So there's going to be something for everybody. So we just know that this is going to be an amazing success.
Thank you, Megan. So the next question is, Marcel.
Hello.
If you can answer this one, again, it's a venue related question. So the question is, do you have a venue? And if so, where?
Okay. So unfortunately, guys, I cannot discuss specifics at this stage. However, I can tell you that we are being offered amazing properties at great prices. Okay. So also funds will not be needed until we announce the venue. But unfortunately, I cannot sort of get into that in detail.
Thanks, Marcel. The only thing I'd just add to what Marcel said, which is true, is the spec to the agents that we are using for the first venue is it needs to be within a 20-minute drive of our existing part-time pop-up. So that will give you a little bit of a clue. So it's going to be applicable for 95% of our customers and also the majority of our staff. So the next question is, how confident are we about our financials, especially the 70% full during peak times? Which is a great question. So the 70% full during peak times is the key question for the financials. Everything else is a derivative of that. So peak times, for those that don't know, for us will be weekends and school holidays. So the reason we've put 70% in the business plan is that is, first of all, that is an average for our biggest peak competitors. We have no intention of being average. We are new. I'm fairly confident we will do better than their average, but, and this is where the part-time pop has helped us a lot to get to this number. Our customer numbers have gone up every month that we've been in operation in a very, very poor venue with not much to offer apart from the activities themselves. This new venue is going to be twice as big and twice as many activities before we talk about the spectacular venue on its own. In the 5 months before lockdown, we were on average 75% full in a poor venue. So I hope you will see by that why we are so confident that we will achieve that 70% number. Right, the next question is, how do we expect to get a venue and build it in such a short amount of time? So thank you very much for that. So in terms of timing, as I've said previously, the one thing we're not going to do is rush. And we're not going to get a bad venue for the sake of getting it up in time for Christmas. But what we've been offered, the venues we've been offered are amazing. In terms of the fit out, we have already had quotes from people that have done this many times before. It takes 10 weeks. So that's why I've said the earliest we can get this done is December this year. But whether it's December or January, it doesn't really affect us. It won't affect the business plan. We will just want to make sure that we get the right venue and we will do it right. So thank you very much for that question. Right, next question is, I'll find my cursor. Okay, now that again, that's on competitors. So again, another question on competitors, which we've already answered. So, flip my phones time.